Talk here on Fire 107.7 FM. I am your host, Angie, and of course, I would like to send greetings. Hope you guys are having a really wonderful day. But I want to send greetings to all of my listeners, namely those of you joining us on the WhatsApp platform. Facebook platform. Good afternoon to you. Welcome to the broadcast. Those of you joining us on the 107.7 FM frequency on your radio, good afternoon to you. Thank you for joining us. Lovely to have you here this afternoon. And those of you joining us on the Fire FM 107.7 link. Good afternoon and welcome to the broadcast. Before we begin, guys, today's Monday, February 2nd, 2026. I really want to send special greetings to the Shastney family, and by that I'm speaking of the leader of the opposition, Mr. Alan Shastney, and his family, but especially to his father, Mr. Michael Shastney, who I'm told had to deal with a really scary situation, a very serious health scare recently. But the Shastney family did release a statement this morning, and in it they are saying that Sir Michael, the scare was not as serious. That's why they call it a scare. It's not his condition is not as serious as what the doctors in St. Lucia led him to believe. Of course, he got the diagnosis. The family airlifted him to Miami, and there he was further diagnosed, and it turns out that he does not have cancer as he was told, or as it was believed when he was examined by the doctors in St. Lucia, and that the family says that he is resting comfortably. And we wish Sir Michael a speedy recovery. This gentleman has been a prolific businessman, a stalwart in our business community here in St. Lucia. Everybody knows Minville and Shastney has been a fixture in our business landscape. They've provided St. Lucians with so many job opportunities, so many business opportunities over the years. These people have been there at almost every step in the development of our country, namely our business sector and especially the tourism sector. Because you would recall that Minville and Shastney, through Air France, they were the ones who brought the Cunard line, very first cruise ship line to grace our shores. So we do owe Sir Michael a debt of gratitude. He has worked diligently in building up the business landscape in St. Lucia, and that's not forgetting all the business owners that he has mentored over the years and helped. So we send warm greetings to you, Sir Michael Shastney, and we wish you a speedy recovery, and that you, while you are aged like fine wine, but there's still a place for fine wine in St. Lucia, guys, don't you think? So we do wish the Shastney family all the best. We wish Sir Michael a speedy recovery, and we also are very thankful to those doctors in Miami who were able to run some additional tests and find out that it was not cancer as it was feared in St. Lucia. So guys, thank you very much for that. Okay, on to bigger and better things. So, the Prime Minister of St. Lucia, uh, the Prime Minister of St. Lucia made an appearance at the Second World Congress on Racial and Ethnic Health Disparities. This event took place from January 27th, so that is over the weekend. Not really the weekend, it ended on Saturday, so it started on Tuesday last week, ended on Saturday. And our Prime Minister Philip JPM made some remarks at that event. And I would really want to share these remarks with you because they have serious implications for our country. And I mean, this is a forum which speaks about disparities in health, especially when it comes to racism and ethnic differences. And I say this knowing full well that this is the same Prime Minister who, during his election campaign, did not despair or desist or shy away from using racial epithets, from bringing in a veneer of racism to our politics here in St. Lucia. He and his cabinet of ministers and his party officials, they didn't shy away from playing the race card and playing it often and insistently. And so to hear his remarks, I'm very interested. I didn't get to hear this before because, there are other reasons, but I am very interested in hearing what this Prime Minister has to say about this situation, knowing full well, St. Lucians, knowing full well that it was himself and his cabinet colleagues who introduced racism into our politics. Of course, guys, we need to listen to all of the developments that take place in our country, mainly because we have a glaring lack of opposition. Through no fault of the opposition's, this is our fault. We chose not to hire a team, an opposition team. Maybe because we felt that we were quite qualified in being our own opposition. I don't know the rationale. But there we have it. We have the job and we have to get it done. And we need to ensure that the decisions that are taken on our behalf are taken with our best interests at heart. Now, I know everyone right now is thinking about Uber, the Uber platform, and that is the talk of the day everywhere. Some people are saying, well, Uber will bring in cheaper fares for locals. Some are saying, no, they won't. Some are saying that they will eat into the market share of the taxi operators. Others are saying, hey, ordinary people and taxi operators need a venue, an avenue to make extra money. I am saying we have bigger and better fish to fry. So, without further ado, St. Lucia, I want to take you to the ethnic Second World Congress on Racial and Ethnic Health Disparities, where our Prime Minister, Mr. Philip J. Pierre, makes certain remarks that we should listen to and pay careful attention. I am going to give a few minutes to the Uber topic later day. Oh, somebody's telling me that I'm looking smart. Thank you. Thank you. This is an old favorite, this dress. I love it. It's one of my favorites. So, without further ado, let me take you to the Congress on Racial and Ethnic Health Disparities, where our Prime Minister Philip J. Pierre delivered some remarks. Here you go.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you very much. Let me, first of all, welcome you to St. Lucia. You must have seen by now it's the most beautiful island in the world. I want to also tell you that we're very proud of Professor Cato. He's done us well. He's done St. Lucia well. And he's breaking records, and I'm sure he will continue to make St. Lucia. And our aim, our objective right now is to make St. Lucia the best place to live and work in the region. That is where that's where we are heading. We're heading to a situation where we want our country to be the best place to live and work. And that means that we have to use the expertise of people like Dr. Cato and others so that we can ensure that our people have a better quality of life and our country becomes the best place to live and work. I am in no position to speak on racial and ethnic health disparities. You in the room are best suited for that. And if I try to venture there, you may end up treating me how they treat politicians. And I don't want to be treated like a politician. This morning, I was treated like a politician for the whole of last year. And I was successful. So I hope I don't need to be treated like a politician this morning. Well, I have a prepared text, but if you allow me, can I just look at it? But I think I've been thinking about a few things based on your topic, racial and ethnic health disparities. And I think that I just want to share a few ideas with you. I will not be long, just a few ideas, and I hope it can serve as some fodder for your discussions. It's really a known fact that, and sometimes people don't want to use that word, but black people are the ones who suffer most in terms of disparities as far as healthcare is concerned. It's a fact. It's a fact that we have to deal with. Professor Henry Beckles, who is a professor and vice chancellor of the University of he postulates that the reason why these non-communicable diseases, NCDCs, are so common among black people, particularly among people in the region, is because of slavery. He postulates that the food that our slave ancestors ate, the food caused them to have a disposition towards these sorts of illnesses, high blood pressure, diabetes, etc. And Beckles is convinced, and he's written, and I'm sure you could find it, he's written that he thinks that is the main reason why we seem to be suffering from these illnesses. If you look at the statistics, you will see that St. Lucia has one of the highest rates of diabetes that's in the world. That has been proven, it's a fact. And you ask yourself why. And Beckles postulates that the reason why that's happened in the region is because of the food that that we eat and the food we continue to eat. So he says that if we have just a basic change in our eating habits and we start from a young age, we could help a little halt that increase in diabetes and hypertension. Now, I'm not a doctor, but I'm just telling you what he's postulated. But that isn't happening. But apart from the fact that we have a very low birth rate, in St. Lucia, our birth rate is concerning, very concerning. I mean, there are some schools where teachers teach less than 20 children. That is rather concerning. It's concerning not only now, but it's concerning for the future. And if you look at our kids, our children, you see many of them, at least to the eye, are obese. They are bigger than they ought to be. Our kids seem to be being to be bigger than they ought to have more weight than they should. And that happens again back to what they eat, because what they eat at schools is things that are not natural. A lot of processed foods and sweets and etc. So we have, apart from the fact that there is that disposition towards NCDCs, our children, by what we feed them, we are causing that to happen even more. And this will also lead to more disparities as far as our children are concerned. So we start from the point of diet, we start from the point of exercise. Most of our people cannot swim. We live in an island of water, and our people cannot swim. And I'm told that one of the best exercises is swimming. So some folks who cannot afford to go to a gym, they neither walk nor swim. But they have to go to a gym or they order gym equipment, and the gym equipment ends up as being a hanger at their home. Basic. Again, health disparities, exercise. So you find we put, because of the fact that we do not exercise, we do not eat properly, we get issues as far as our health is concerned. Again, I think that is a basic reason for disparities. Now, why is it more common in particular races? Basically because the people who seem to have more issues as far as the social and economic development of their countries and themselves happen to be our people. And that is made worse by the international body and the pressures that organizations put on us as small developing countries. We just heard that America has left the World Health Organization. So any support or help you could get from that avenue has been closed. And at the same time, we are being told by international financial institutions to have particularly certain ratios, debt to GDP ratio, fiscal rules, limit social spending. So it's a double whammy. Apart from the fact that we can't choose our friends, we are also told that you must keep to certain guidelines dictated by international financial institutions. So, if as Minister of Finance I have to borrow $40 million, which to most countries in the US, $40 million is petty cash as far as government is concerned. If I have to borrow $40 million, I have to go through a series of fiscal rules. I have to keep my expenditure as a limit, etc. Health expenditure. We've just commissioned a new hospital. And it takes, under normal circumstances, or circumstances that we need, it will cost us about $15 million to properly get our hospital furnished and ready to go. My budget cannot do it now. I don't have the fiscal space for $15 million. So I try to have a citizens by investment program, a CIP program, and I get blocked there also. I'm told that these people are terrorists, that they will cause money laundering, etc. I have to be careful. I have to even be careful what I say now, because I want to sleep in my bed tonight. So it's a. I tell you what, it's. I always say to my friends, especially when it comes to big islands, to manage a small country, 186,000 people, like St. Lucia, or like St. Vincent or Grenada, Dominica, even smaller than us. It's a task that many will never understand. Apart from the fact that we have to deal with these international issues that we have nothing to do with us. We never caused any war anywhere. We never caused any war in any country. We've never, I mean, there is no solution. I make the point that we feel people. There is no solution that will ever put a bomb in his shoe and go in any plane. Never. But we have this never, I mean, the solution said, there's no solution. There are too many things he wants to do. He wants to play dominoes. So he ain't putting no bomb in his shoe and going around mash up any place. Not doing that. He wants to live, right? But we have to spend millions of dollars for security. Millions for port security because of other people's actions. So we suffer in our small islands. We suffer immensely because of other people's actions. So these disparities, apart from social and economic, they must filter down into health disparities. We have in St. Lucia, we try to have a school feeding program where we try to ensure that our kids get at least one solid nutritious meal per day. But sometimes the funders determine that you have to buy certain foods. I have no choice. So these disparities, unless we as a region can change our lifestyles, can change our thought processes. I have been very bullish recently on water harvesting. I think it's come as a revelation for me. Although at my own house, I've been dealing with water harvesting for a long while. I was driving up to the coming here, and then I don't use sirens, so I see the traffic, and I'm sorry for being late because I was in the traffic. And I was saying to my guys, that in every house that we pass, there was water coming from the roof and going straight into the ground. And next to that, there was a tank collecting Moscow's water. If water is life, you must have water. Again, a health disparity is caused with a lack of adequate drinking water. A health disparity. If you could just have not only the consciousness, but the ability to change our lifestyle in that we buy a tank and use the water from the building. You will have absolutely no drought issues. It rained last night, it rained this morning, but we have a serious drought. And when you have a serious drought, the rain that is falling from the big houses goes straight into the ground. So we need, apart from the issues that I spoke about, the fiscal issues, the idea that we have to follow fiscal rules, we have to follow the dictates of larger countries. There are things we can do as a country by changing our mindset, by changing the way we live, by making some simple changes. And I think in our water situation in St. Lucia, to solve it the conventional way, I will need about $400 million. I have to borrow it. I'm sure if we take as a policy and the country follows that policy and begin to harvest water. Not store, harvest. A big difference. What happens is that we store Wasco's water, but we do not harvest rainwater. If we can begin to harvest rainwater, I'm sure I will not have to spend $400 million on my water company. It's called Wasco. That money could be used to do other things. Whereas the issues are grave, there are certain systemic issues in the system that seem to always conspire against us. Our small size, our heritage, our history, everything seems to be conspiring. And that's why it's important that organizations like you and people like Dr. Kito bring their collective wisdom together and try to form alternative institutions that can assist people who are at the lower end of the social and economic ladder. And it takes, first of all, it takes the thought process. And I see that you're dealing with the thought process here. But we need to find ways to put these things into actionable things that they don't only remain written in journals, but we action it so that we can have an impact on the lives of the people of this country. We cannot continue to live in dual societies where one level of society seems to be advancing and the poor are getting poorer. The dispossessed are getting more dispossessed and the disparities are greater. You have to find a way to level that playing field. We speak about health disparities. The serious disparities are caused by crime and violence. When our young men get shot in gang warfare, and we seem to think, forget about them, they're killing themselves. They're not killing themselves, not only killing themselves, they go to the hospitals. In the hospitals, it costs hundreds of thousands of dollars to deal with these gunshots. Then they are crippled. You have to take care of them. You have the social welfare to take care of them. So as we may think that these guys just killing themselves, it impacts on us indirectly and do not want to pay any taxes. So we need to look at the situation in a holistic point of view. Then we have an issue with driving, again causing a disparity. Because when people drive recklessly on the road and they get injured, go to the hospital cost, they are crippled. You have to take care of them. Of course, on us. Then lifestyles. COPD. A number of young men are at their homes, young men. They have breathing problems because of their lifestyle. So we have to find a way to translate our knowledge and translate our intellect to make it real and practical for the people of these countries. So I want to urge you, I want to urge the intellectual power in that room to see if we can take it away from only in the paper and bring it to reality. And I want to offer St. Lucia as, I want to say guinea pig, but as a place where we can bring these things to light. You understand? Because there is enough talent, there is enough knowledge for us to be able to cause the people of our countries to live better. We can do it. We'll survive the worst of the worst. We've survived. We have some of the best intellect in the world, in that part of the world. We have the wealth of countries in Africa. We have the wealth. In St. Lucia, I know you must have known, there are two guys who become Nobel laureates. Children. And there are many more who Will reach there. Who can reach there? There's Keith Lawrence and there's Winston Paris. There are many men and women who blaze the trail. We need to convert that into practicality and convert it to make our people better, to improve the lives of the people. I'm just a humble politician offering to create the environment for people like you to excel. I haven't got the capabilities to do like you. But what I have is I have the will. I have the will. And I want to create the space and the environment for you to bring your intellectual power to improve the lives of the people of that region. I thank you very much.
Well, tell us more about the hospital in terms.
Okay, at the risk of being thrown off my own show, I think I better stop here. I wanted a particular aspect of that speech to be highlighted, but the messages that I am getting on my I'm so sorry. I don't mean to laugh, but I I am getting so many messages. Somebody on my private somebody on my private WhatsApp is saying to me, do you want me to get angry at you? Why are you playing this? And then on the what and the listen, the messages on the Facebook platform have kept going from bad to worse. Let me read a few of them for you. So somebody's saying, what a big joker. Another one says, people, please teach him to harvest pronunciation. Another is saying, this PM needs speech therapy. Another says, he bought the election and now it's too hot for him to deal with. Another says, and the government members are getting richer while we are getting poorer. Philip, please, what is going on with Philip J. Pierre? And the list goes on. Somebody says, my God, what a potato seed. Another says, Angie, I'm going to bed. Enough is enough. Another says, call the fire engine to wet me out. Guys, I am not making this up. This is what is going on in the chat room on Facebook. Somebody says, Angie, no comma, no full stop. What nonsense are we listening? You don't like us, Angie. Another says, Angie, please stop. Another says, I don't want to hem it again. Another says, oh wow, if it was Shas using that word guinea pigs, St. Lucians would be all up in the air, right? Another says, Philip, what are you saying? Somebody says, I am lost. Somebody says, well, look, the PM is living in the twilight zone. Another asks, Angie, is this a pre-independence speech? Somebody says, by the way, I realized that this man used a religious song as his theme song from the last election. The Bible says that, oh my God, guys, come on now. Hey, this is the prime minister that we have. You guys cannot keep just bashing me every time I play a speech from the man. You guys just. Another says, the Bible says that the Heavenly Father hates a lying tongue. Me, PM, you have proven to us that you are comfortable with supplying us with lies and foolish talk. Another says, everything is a joke for Philip. What are they clapping for? I'm all confused. Another says, listening to PJP is giving me back spasms. Somebody else is saying, I'm confused. Somebody's saying people are actually clapping. Another says, good. I listened, Angie, but I suffered. Somebody says, I almost fell asleep. My God. The WhatsApp platform is not any better, guys. I swear one of these days, these people are going to kick me out of here. Somebody is saying on the WhatsApp, good afternoon, Angie. Is this a Philip Pierre program? Oh, my God. So, I don't know. I have told you guys before. I don't know how to explain it to you again. Every time the Prime Minister is asked a question, it's the answers just go from bad to worse to more worse. If there's something even more worse, ah, my God, it is just horrible. But let's try to assess and unpack some of what he was supposed to say. I know as a journalist, my job is to say what he says and deal with what he says, but you guys, you just don't want to hear what he says. Okay. So I did tell you that this forum was a World Congress on racial and ethnic health disparities. It was chaired, of course, by St. Lucian doctor, world-renowned surgeon. This man is doing great things. He was just knighted last year, I think. Oh my God. Well, somebody sent me something nice. It's all those things that you guys were saying. I'm going to read it out just because. Somebody says, "Good day. Your face looks pretty today. Not that it's not pretty every day, just as if it looks prettier today." You see, you guys are being so mean to me. Somebody loves me out there. Good afternoon to you. It's coming from my cousin, though. Good afternoon to you, Dosha. Hope you're having a wonderful day. Oh my God. So, and I have to give love to my friend, Mr. Raymond, out there in the cold, and is really mad at me because he says that I keep playing the Prime Minister. But guys, I don't have a choice. This is, whether we like it or not, this is the Prime Minister that we were given. This isn't my fault, guys. I'm just working with the tools that I have. Now, Dr. Cato Lorenzen, he is a St. Lucian living in the States, working on some of the most groundbreaking surgeries and medical techniques. I think the latest project that he is dealing with is attempting to regrow bones. Really groundbreaking stuff. And I think I might be wrong, but I believe the athlete Asia Lorenzen might be his daughter, but I'm not sure about that. I am I'm thinking it's the same family. So Dr. Cato Lorenzen, he has been working with a hospital in the United States. Not sure if it's Boston or wherever he is, but he's based at that hospital, and he has been using his influence to look for medical training opportunities for St. Lucian students. So he's been working on a link between, I think it was Arthur Lewis Community College and this university over there in the States to help train St. Lucian medical students in groundbreaking medical procedures. And as part of all of his work, just really wanting to give back to St. Lucia and to link St. Lucia to the world when it comes to healthcare, he chaired this meeting on racial and ethnic health disparities. Now, what that is supposed to mean, I'm sorry, guys. I'm really sorry for playing you the Prime Minister's remarks, but none of what he said was even remotely related to what the topic should have been. You see, health disparities among racial and ethnic groups simply talks about the way people are treated when they fall ill. And it also, to some extent, to a larger extent, speaks about the different health issues that persons of different ethnic backgrounds face. But it has nothing to do with accidents. It has nothing to do with water harvesting. It has nothing to do with the World Bank putting different sanctions or limitations in place for borrowing when it comes to small island developing states. But for some reason, which I am very confused about, the Prime Minister decided to speak about all of these things which have absolutely nothing to do with what the forum was about. And what kills me is that he did say that he had a prepared speech. Just read your prepared speech. Why go off on a rant speaking about everything that has absolutely, and some of the things that he said, people, my goodness, I know what we're dealing with this Prime Minister, but I really didn't expect him to do that. Now, what I wanted to highlight in all of this, because afterwards there's an answer, question and answer portion. And I guess this is where he makes the statement that I think we on Hardtalk today, that the statement I really wanted us to examine. You see, Prime Minister Philip J. Pierre has decided to, somebody says he's trying to make the audience feel sorry for him. Why would he need the audience to feel sorry for him? That's for another show. But Prime Minister Philip J. Pierre made an announcement, and that announcement is that St. Lucian students will no longer be eligible or be allowed to study in Cuba. Somebody saying, Angie, that was the man's preamble. The speech is yet to come. Well, I don't think my audience wants the speech, so I'm just going to say it for him. So, yes, so the important part of all of what the Prime Minister said there, which he didn't get to say because, honestly, I would have had a riot on my hands if I had let him speak 2 minutes more, is that St. Lucian students, health students, by the way, will no longer be allowed or take advantage of the Cuban medical training program. Now, you guys know that for a number of years, ever since I was a little girl, back in the 80s, we had this medical somebody's saying, poor job for your Prime Minister. That's the best you guys have. Oh my God. Don't rub it in. That's just so wrong. So guys, you know that for the past 40 years, the Cuban Medical Mission has operated in the OECS. In St. Lucia, it started with eye clinics. You would recall that there used to be this time of the year when I think just before school reopens, during the summer, the Cuban Medical Mission would show up, and these guys would hold this mass screening for eye issues, and they would provide glasses and interventions for persons who needed medical intervention when it comes to their eyesight. Now, the Prime Minister is saying that because of diplomatic pressures from the United States government. St. Lucia unfortunately has to bow out from the Cuban medical mission. Now, also, guys, you would recall that Cuban doctors and nurses have provided a very important service to our country. You know that there is a serious lack of doctors and nurses in St. Lucia. And those doctors and nurses, our nurses, are being employed by the bigger countries, getting paid in foreign currency, making twice, almost 3 times what they make here. And they are moving on to greener pastures. This has created a huge disparity, not the kind the Prime Minister was speaking about, because I don't understand how this is racial and ethnic disparities in health. But the Prime Minister would talk about accidents causing a anyway, that's for another show. So those Cuban doctors and nurses, they have been filling in the blanks in our healthcare system for decades, right? Over 4 decades. The Cuban medical mission has provided us with specialists, especially when it comes to eye care, when it comes to obstetrics, that is taking care of the feet. You know, we have a lot of issues with non-communicable diseases, NCDs. There's only one D in non-communicable disease. I don't know where the other D came from. The other C came from, because he was saying NCDCs. I don't know if he was talking about the CDCs in Castries, but he was supposed to say NCDs. And they've been providing us, especially during the COVID-19 pandemic. It's well known that St. Lucia would not have been able to weather the storm of COVID-19 as well as we did if we did not have the support of the Cuban medical mission. But the Prime Minister is here talking about CIP, which I really don't understand what CIP has to do with racial and ethnic health disparities. But I think what he's trying to imply is that he is being treated unfairly by the government of the United States. Somebody here is saying Antigua's government sent back all the Cuban doctors. So we have a call on the line right away. Good afternoon to you, caller. You are on the air.
Good afternoon.
Hi, could you turn down the volume of your radio, please?
Yeah, turn it down here. Good afternoon.
Hi, could you turn down the volume of your radio, please? Yeah.
Yeah.
We see what that caused.
Okay. Yeah. Good afternoon again.
Good afternoon to you, Mr. Bermuda. I haven't heard your voice in a while.
I decided that I'm not going to defend the great man. I decided I'm only going to call the talk shows. I'm not going to defend solutions. I'm going to defend the great man, the world's best and greatest leader, visionary leader, Sir Alan Michael Shaftesbury.
Mm-hmm.
I heard the Prime Minister talking about these students where the youngsters going to train, they're going to do this, they're going to do that, they're going to do the next.
Mm-hmm.
Do you all remember the world's greatest leader, Sir Alan Michael Shaftesbury, saying, down in Beaufort, there'll be 3 hospitals.
Yeah, yes.
The new one,
Mm-hmm.
the bottom floor for locals, the top floor, it will have tourism for the foreigners.
Yes.
Did he say that?
Yes, he did.
And he went on to say, the old St. Jude's would be a training ground.
In fact, he used the word university hospital. That is the term that he used.
Okay. You embedded. You give me a 10 now. I was going to get a 9. Now you gave me a 10.
Yes.
Okay. That will show you how he was using the old hospital to get to train doctors. He was going to bring doctors from the K1 or somewhere, and they're going to train doctors and nurses at the old hospital. Now this is 10 years later. The 16 brats they having there. They have there. I say all the time. You put all of them together, they cannot make one so other like a Shasti. The trouble that he's going through right now, let me tell you the truth. I love it. I love the trouble he's going through there. I only hope that Trump bring on the hammer harder. But I still have to say this. The great man Sir Alan Megashasti will have something in place in the long time. 10 years ago.
Yep.
Okay? Don't forget that, you know. I don't forget that.
We have not forgotten. We have not forgotten.
I haven't heard anybody mention that. I haven't heard it. The man made that statement during a few days, now a week. I haven't heard anybody mention that. The man ahead of the clock, ahead of the 8 ball. 10 years ago, the man said, listen, bottom floor is for the locals. Top floor helps tourism for foreigners. And the old hospital, we're gonna train doctors and nurses over there. Could you beat that? Could you beat that? You don't send a boy to do a man's job. Those guys are boys. They ain't got a clue. Everything they touch turns to caca. Everything they touch. The difference with the great man is that he takes caca and turns it to chocolate. That's what he does. And let me say this to you. If he was the leader, what Donald Trump is doing to St. Lucia right now, he wouldn't do it. The great man can sit down with Donald and get that, make him reverse that ban, reverse that, because you know why? He's a respected man. When he speaks, the whole world listen besides solutions. Okay? It will be different. Solution will not be in that predicament today. It will be different. I hear people saying, oh, no matter which prime minister. Which prime minister? None of these guys in there cannot talk to Donald Trump or the Minister of Secretary of State, those kind of guys, or France and those kind of guys. They can't talk to those guys. They can't get no decision reverse. They don't want to hear them. You need a man as a leader that is respected, that one that people's going to give an ear to. Nobody's going to listen to me. The man bring a chick there or take it down there. No, put that oil down there. Put that oil in St. Lucia. The government had no say. St. Lucia government had no say. Could say, no, don't bring it. Yes, bring it. Had no say in that.
Well, the prime minister said that was. Hold on. The prime minister said that this was a commercial decision between Buckeye, and it had absolutely nothing to do with the government of St. Lucia. Just clarifying. I am simply repeating what he said. Yes.
I would like Buckeye to go and say he taking some oil to America. I said something got nothing to do with that. Or the U.S. government ain't got nothing to do with that. You really believe that guy's all this nonsense, man?
No, I'm not. I didn't say I believed him. I said I'm simply repeating what he said.
He had no say. He had no say. No say whatsoever. Bottom line. He can tell some, no, don't bring it, or don't bring it. He had no say there. That's when somebody disrespect you, have no respect for you.
Yeah.
You think someone treat the great man like that? He's sure he never have no respect for that man. Think like, oh, put it down there in Calisat, man. Don't ask that man no questions. Just take it and put it down there. I agree with Trump. I agree with him. If you keep on putting garbage in your government, in the House Assembly, that's the way you're going to get treated. That's where you get a lot more to come, you know. Trump it down with all that, you know.
Oh,
Trump ain't
trust
never
me,
done
I
yet.
know.
Trump ain't never done. That's just the appetizer. That's just the appetizer.
The
Don't
main,
talk about your
the
sovereign
the
state and
main
sovereign that.
course, the main course is yet to come.
And let me say this to you too. Let me say one more thing I say to you. I have a friend. I had a friend. He passed away now. And I was one that always to big up the Cuban doctors. I used to say the Cuban doctors, they're this, they're that, they're the best in the world, and blah, 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 blah. You know what the guy said to me? He said to Flex, listen to me. This what you heard people saying? That's a whole, that's a whole pile of wash. These guys are not good people like they are. I can tell you things those guys do, but I guess he told me something. And I said, what? He told me something, but which I will not say on the air. He told me something. I said, man, those guys do that for true. You see, I'm telling you, the guy passed away about 3 or 4 years now. The guy said, these guys just have a day and people believe you come from Cuba, you're good, you're good. That ain't true. These guys ain't all that. He told me that. He said he'd rather go to he told me he'd rather go to Colombia. I think he said to be Colombia or Mexico. He said I don't want to go to those guys. I don't want to go to no Cuba. He told me that. Anyhow, I'm back to it again. The great man was there, so I don't make a shot there. As I said the last time I called, the only body could turn solution around with Trump, with the US government, is the great man. No, only St. Lucia, the Caribbean, the Caribbean, the Caribbean. The only person they respect down here is Sir Alan Michael Shasta. You could take that and cash that in any bank you like. They listen
But
to the rest.
I mean,
Although the lady in Trinidad, she got a little blah there, but she ain't got no pull she ain't got no pull as young people say in Bermuda, like the great man.
well, I
That
mean,
great man is something else.
you are aware that he is the president of the Caribbean Democratic Union and the vice chairman of the International Democratic Union. I think he's the only leader in the OECS to ever.
Yes, I do know that.
Yeah.
And do you know also that whenever the IMF and the World Bank having a real meeting, they invite him?
Well, there you go.
Do you know that?
So it's obvious this gentleman is no laughing matter.
Anybody can look at Shasta laughing. You guys see the man's class? You guys see this man? Listen to me. My Belgian friends tell me. My Belgian friends tell me all the time. Your vote clear over Shasta. Just look at the man. You can see the man's a class, the man's a ruler, the man's a leader. Look at Shasta, look at Shasta, and you can see. You can just look at the man, and you can see. Red Charles can see that, but you all can't see that. Good for moguls going all the time. What do you expect? If you put garbage in the House Assembly, garbage going to come through the windows and doors all the time. That's what y'all continue doing. Okay? I'm doing it. I ain't defending y'all. I'm defending the great man. When we done the politics, that's when I stop talking the talk shows. Until then, I ain't talking for no solution. I'm talking for the great man. I don't know talk for him. I know I talk for him. The man's brilliant. He's a genius.
Yeah.
I don't be surprised. I have to be another laureate. I have to be the next laureate. That man, I'll make a shot today. You don't think that man easy? That man, Elon Musk, Bill Gates, what's the other guy named? At a president meeting, make them pull the beard, that guy was, oh God, he had the airline there in St. Lucia. He put on his airline. What's his name now, oh God? Richard Branson. Talk about Richard Branson. Let me say this to you. Richard Branson came to the great man when he was prime minister with a so-called deal. The great man said, nah, I don't want that. I don't want that. Branson said to himself, okay, you don't want that? Okay. That other government coming in, they go take it. The other government, PNM came in, the Mongols guy came in, and he put the offer to them, and they snatched it.
And you're speaking of course, Virgin Atlantic.
Thank you very much. Virgin Atlantic, that's right. And they snatched it. And a month or 2 months later,
Virgin Atlantic pulled out, and they left.
Thank you very much.
And I don't think they refunded our money. Our
Only for what? You
$750,000.
know what he did with that money? You know what he did with that money? He took a trip to the moon with Elon Musk. And just after that, hold on, listen to the rest. I have the video here on my phone. Just after that, he invited the great man to a meeting with all the billionaires of the world. The great man said, when he told them, take out the pen. Take out the pen. You saw that one?
No, I
And
haven't.
when the man finished speaking, you could drop a feather on the floor. I heard when it dropped. But y'all like garbage. Y'all don't like that. Y'all don't like that for class. Y'all don't like class. We folks so out of like a Saturday. So you ain't going nowhere. You're going to talk to the calls, come home. So you ain't going nowhere. 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 You have to make it 19. Because all them put together cannot make one star of Michael Shasty. Let me tell you something. That man has told me things. That man has told me things. Years before it happened, Years before it happened. I said, hey, what kind of man is he, bro? What kind of man is he? You think that man is he? You don't know what you got, You don't know what you got. But the international world knows. The Beijing knows. The whole world knows what I got. That man got offered jobs. Jobs in Bermuda and all. Yes, Bermuda. Turned it down. Sweden turned it down. Turned it down. So you must interview the man, Angie.
Yeah.
You must interview the great man, That man's a Brian Lara, Brian Lara slash Viv Richards, slash Gary Summers. That man is easy.
Yeah.
And that's a man that deals with anybody, including man in the street. That's a man that plays with anybody. Man, listen to me. That man is the real deal. He walks with rough rats. I say rough rats, yes, you heard me. Plays with rough rats. Kings, queens, princesses, presidents. That's the class of the man. And still has the common touch. That's what I'm talking about. You have a nice day.
Thank you very much for that. Guys, of course, you know the voice. I don't have to introduce the caller, Mr. Bermuda. A very critical gentleman when it comes to St. Lucian politics, but what he said was not wrong. Let's go now back to the Facebook platform. Somebody is saying Antigua's government sent back all Cuban doctors and nurses and brought in African doctors and nurses. Another says if the Prime Minister continues with a speech like that, he might soon be impeached. Another says, Angie, there's a past teacher who said that PJP should be the Prime Minister of the OECS because everybody copies from him. Can you believe someone said that? I want to say I wouldn't believe it, but I think I know where it came from. So, Lord. Somebody says, I deem PJP's speech as verbal abuse to our heirs. Wow, that's strong words. Some suffered silently whilst our blood pressure got higher. A prime minister can't stay on one topic. Another person says, so true. Another says, the main source and reason for the Cuba St. Lucia fiasco is Philip Jean-Pierre, but actually his name is Philip G. Pierre. Another person says the reason why we find ourselves in that mess in St. Lucia is because of that so-called prime minister and that CIP issue. If Chasney was our prime minister, we would have never been in that mess. Trump is putting pressure on St. Lucia because of the SLP. He can see that they are trying to remove democracy in our country. SLP ministers and supporters know Philip has no prime minister qualities, but they are supporting him because he allowed them to do all of their corruption. Our country is sinking. Somebody else says, Shas, we love you. Another says, oh yes, so true. Somebody is saying, Mr. B, I agree with you. Another says, Mr. Bermuda in the house. Another says, that's right. Somebody's asking, did Mr. Bermuda come down to vote? I have no idea. Somebody says, Bermuda, I am in agreement with you. Give them the real facts. Another said, I died with laughter when I heard mate saying that rubbish. Now, you might say that the speech was rubbish. But guys, this is the Prime Minister that we have. And while you may not like the words that are coming out of his mouth, you have to understand that majority rules. And apparently, or so it seems, the majority ruled that they wanted to hear this rubbish. Yes, so as you can see, the Prime Minister was asked to speak on racial and ethnic disparities in the health sector. Yet he went off on a rant. He did say that he had a prepared speech, which he actually should have read. But instead of reading the speech that was prepared, that most probably would enlighten the public and the people that were gathered about the disparities in health in our region, because we all know that just in St. Lucia we're made of several ethnic groups, a diverse amount of ethnic groups, and that situation situation is mirrored everywhere in the Caribbean, throughout the entire region, in the OECS, outside of the OECS, Greater Antilles, Lesser Antilles. We are a melting pot of different ethnic and racial groups. And the speech would have given, I'm hoping, a diverse look at the racial disparities affecting the health disparities affecting different racial and ethnic groups. Instead, the Prime Minister was talking about rainwater. What is it with this man and rainwater harvesting? What is his deal? I really don't understand. This man keeps on and on about Wasco and about rainwater harvesting. Is the Prime Minister going around to people's houses to examine their pipes to see where they are storing water from, what source they are storing water from? Look, dude, I'm sorry to refer to a Prime Minister of the country as dude, but Mr. Prime Minister, if you care about rainwater harvesting so much, here's a thought. How about you donate maybe $10,000 or $20,000 water tanks to Wasco so that they can engage in rainwater harvesting? And please, I am sick to death of hearing you talk about this just ridiculous issue, asking the public to do Wasco's job. This is not something you should come out there and talk about. What we want to know is, why are we still paying the 2.5 health and security levy that was supposed to be a temporary tax that was supposed to last for only 2 years? It's been 5 years. Why are we still paying this tax? This is what we want to know. Second of all, we want to know, what is your foreign policy? Because there are other things that you can do besides rolling over and playing dead every time Donald Trump looks in your direction. What is your foreign policy? What are you going to do? What moves are you going to make? You're talking about rainwater harvesting when the sky is falling. The price of fuel in St. Lucia remains artificially high because you have suspended the fuel pass-through mechanism and have capped the price of fuel at the highest in the OECS. What are you going to do about that? Everybody, stop talking about rainwater harvesting. Seriously, stop it. Because this is embarrassing. This is a contingent of doctors and healthcare professionals from around the world, headed by Cato Lorenzin, a well-respected surgeon, St. Lucian surgeon in the United States. This man is respected throughout the world. And this man is coming here to introduce his health colleagues to his country, to his people, to his prime minister. And you're embarrassing the man, talking all kinds of foolishness about the World Bank putting restrictions on your borrowing. Of course they're going to put restrictions on your borrowing, sir. You have no economic policy. You were asked just last week, what is your fiscal policy for the coming year? Your response was taxation. That's not a policy. That is not a policy. Guyana was once the poorest country in the region. Guyanese people were leaving the country in droves, migrating to St. Lucia and the rest of the Caribbean in search of a better life. Guyana struck oil. And they got a bad deal. But President Ali has not let that stop him. What did he do? The Guyanese government invested in agriculture. Simply put, oil is a non-renewable resource. Agriculture is a renewable resource. They took the money from the non-renewable resource and invested it in the renewable resource. And now Guyana does not import any of the foods that it needs. In fact, Guyana is the only country that I have heard of. They may be the only country in the world, and that is debatable, but it may very well be that Guyana is the only country in the world. They're definitely the only country in the region who produces 100% of their food. Their food import bill is so low, the lowest in the region. Maybe they import specialty foods, maybe. Where is the progress? Now, for the entire last term, for the entire last term, they had this theme for everything, du vent ensemble. I'm starting to believe that the theme should be changed to du vent derrière ensemble. And they are calling for the leader of the opposition. Why? Why? Didn't the Prime Minister say that he was aiming for 17 knot? Isn't that what he said? Everybody's out there with a flashlight searching for the leader of the opposition. Where is Shas? But that's the same white man y'all didn't want. You've come here to this forum, a serious forum, and you're begging healthcare professionals to feel sorry for you because of CIP. You don't have money, so you tried to do a CIP, and now what? What kind of foolishness is this? What kind of foolishness is this? Is that why we hired you? Is that why we are paying you so much of our hard-earned tax dollars? Where is the investment, guys? Where are the markets? Why aren't you you want to send the Minister of Agriculture to look for sweet potato seeds? How about you send her to find a market for the food that we have growing and falling down on the ground and being wasted in St. Lucia? How about that? Wouldn't that be a better use of our taxpayer dollars? Because if it is that the Minister of Agriculture has gone off somewhere and she's coming back and say, guys, listen, we have a deal for us to send our watergrass to this country because they need it as to make feed for rabbits. Everybody would be happy. That is a fiscal policy. I'm going to turn my attention to the Facebook platform. It says here, folks, can't you guys see another levy is about to strike the people of St. Lucia? Not another levy, listener. What I think is coming is a hike in the price of water, sending the cost of living upwards again. Somebody says he forgot about eating green fig and now asking us to harvest rainwater. Ha ha ha. Every time this man opens his mouth, St. Lucia takes 12 steps backward. Every time. Wasco is the company charged with providing safe drinking water to the St. Lucian public, not St. Lucian citizens. Wasco, the water and sewage company. So if Wasco is having an issue collecting water from the rivers and streams around the island, it is raining every day. Innovate and collect rainwater and augment your collection that way. Don't come and ask me, who's already spent hundreds of dollars hooking my pipes up to your network, because you do know that if you want to get a Wasco connection, you now have to spend the money and do the plumbing at your house and bring it to the point where it connects to Wasco's main line, and then Wasco will just do that bit. You realize that, right? So I have spent hundreds of dollars doing plumbing, paying a plumber to do work at my house. You've come and you've connected it with a meter to your system, and I still have to go and buy a tank and harvest my own rainwater. How about Wasco, the water and sewage company, does their own rainwater harvesting and leave us alone? We don't have time to harvest rainwater. Our backs are against the wheel. Our shoulders are to the wheel. We are too busy trying to survive in this crushing economic climate. So please, Mr. Prime Minister, stop embarrassing the country. Stop frustrating us. Stop going everywhere like a crazy person stuck on a broken record talking about rainwater harvesting this and rainwater harvesting that. So if they call you to a meeting at the UN to talk about foreign policy, will you go there and tell the people about rainwater harvesting too? Is that all you have on your mind? You're talking about people have tanks, have storing rascals. So please, enough. Somebody's saying, no, Angie, they want Shas and Guy to ask the questions for them. Another one is saying he's using water as an excuse to implement another levy on our backs. Lord have mercy. Somebody says sometimes we have to mind how we speak. The reason is that SLP, I don't think PJP realize he is on social media. He doesn't realize it, really? He doesn't? He doesn't see the cameras. Somebody says, Shas, you are the best and will remain the best. Another says, Angie, PJP don't know what to do or say. Somebody else is saying, Angie, you alone are asking the real questions and you're getting frustrated before getting an answer. What a world. Another says, now the Guyanese government is begging their people to come back home. The government is giving them free land to build. Yes. Somebody says, tell PJP to call Shas for help. LOL. Another says, Veti. Another says, hello, Angie. I thought that this was a casual tete-a-tete with friends at a Soufre watering hole. No, sir. This speech came from the Second World Congress on Racial and Ethnic Health Disparities. But the Prime Minister is talking about how people in accidents are causing disparities on the roads. He's speaking about rainwater harvesting. He's talking about all sorts of foolishness. Somebody says he should have allowed Musa to give that speech. Another says, tell me about it. If hypocrite was a person, it would have been those asking, where is Shas and Guy? Somebody says, tell it to them, my Angie. Somebody's asking, is he sending her in heels? Guys, no, seriously, we are laughing here, but this is really ridiculous. It is ridiculous. It is too ridiculous for words. It is too ridiculous for words. This is a health forum. You come into a health forum to tell people about NCDCs. What is NCDC? What is that? I mean, I understand that the Prime Minister will not know everything. The Prime Minister will not know everything. I understand that. I don't expect him to. But the people that know, the people that understand the assignment, they have prepared a speech. All you had to do was open the paper and read. Just read it. At least you would sound as if you know what you are talking about. No. You see, you have to go out there like a macho man. You guys remember this song, or was it an ad? I don't remember. It says, macho, macho man. I want to be a macho man. You remember that back in the 80s? Yeah, that is what Philip J. Pierre wants to be. So he has his hype men around him, telling him all kinds of things that make absolutely no sense, making him believe that he knows what he's talking about. And this is the result. This year, 2025. I'm sorry, it's 2026. Every time this man has opened his mouth, he has said, let's just say that it would be very beneficial for the Prime Minister to walk around with a roll of toilet tissue every time he gives a speech and wipe the corners of his mouth. Because seriously, I didn't think the buffoonery could get any worse. Ask a question. If I was taught at school, if you don't understand, ask a question. Why doesn't the Prime Minister inform himself? Call the people you have at your disposal. You have permanent secretaries. You have healthcare professionals. You have agriculture. You're the Prime Minister of the country, man. What you don't know, there are people who know. Ask a question. Don't go out there sounding like a crazy person. This is ridiculous. Is that what we are paying for? You've spoken. I think I'm just going to read these messages. Somebody says, Angie, PJP failed to tell the people what's going on. He went to the CCJ without a referendum, gave away our ports in silence. Now Trump is telling you what to do, who to talk to, and there's nothing you can do about it. Even that, listeners, the Prime Minister said. He said, did you hear the part where he said he cannot even choose his friends? Did you hear that part? Did you hear that part? We have a message on the WhatsApp platform. Let me read that. Good afternoon, Angie. On Friday, I spoke about lack of specialist doctors and medical scholarships benefiting us, being beneficial to us as a nation. Now the scholarship aspect has been removed. Angie, all I could say is St. Lucia was referred to as a developing third world island, but I can simply say that St. Lucia is moving backwards and coined as underdeveloping 10th world island, in my opinion, with Philip J. Pierre. I really wish I could refute that statement, but I can't. What can I say? What can I say? What can I say? I can say nothing. We have a Prime Minister. Guys, I wish it was a situation. The Prime Minister once said that persons called him autistic. I'm not condoning that statement. If the man is not autistic, we shouldn't call him autistic. But Mr. Prime Minister, and this is advice that I give to everyone, if someone is pointing a gun at you, please do not put bullets in it. Because when you go to this forum and you say the things that you say, how can I, in good conscience, say to someone that you are not autistic? How do I do that? How do I defend you? Because, so, I don't know if you realize, but if it looks like a duck, it walks like a duck, it has feathers and it quacks, guess what it is? A duck. Somebody says, I want to know what he will say when there is no rain. Then he will start talking about sweet potato seeds. He'll figure something out. Somebody says, as a St. Lucian, I am ashamed to say we have a very good prime minister to lead the country. Somebody is saying, you can't plant corn and expect to reap tomatoes. So sad, where's the wisdom, Mr. Prime Minister? Another is saying, so true. Somebody says, did you say toilet tissue? Yes, I said toilet tissue. Another says, he cannot choose his friends and have to be careful with what he says. Another one says, PJP, I urge you to stop embarrassing yourself on national social media, please, because the world is watching you. Another says, and the people who voted the Labour government think they are hurting Alan Shasner and the UWP. They will understand one day that paying people to vote is not the right thing to do. Another is saying, pressure burst pipe, Labour in hot waters, PM is a genius in Majid. I have no idea what that means, but I think this person is being very sarcastic. Somebody says, St. Lucia is on the brink of bankruptcy and all we are going to get is excuses. Guys, I don't even think we're going to get excuses. I'm going to be honest with you. Because I honestly don't think that Philip JPA has a clue. I don't think this man has a clue. Because send Philip JPA to speak to people in the community, he speaks absolute rubbish. Send him to a pre-cabinet press briefing and ask him questions, another set of rubbish. Send him to a forum on health and racial and ethnic disparities on health, even more rubbish. And I don't think this is because the Prime Minister does not understand what he's doing. I'm sorry to say, but I'm beginning to think, because guys, listen, once is a mistake, but twice is a habit. You're telling me that the persons who work in the office of the Prime Minister they do not advise him? You're telling me that these individuals don't say to the Prime Minister, sir, you have to speak on this topic. Here are the talking points. This is what St. Lucia is going through. So you're telling me the Prime Minister does, okay, you had to go to this forum on racial and ethnic health disparities. Am I to believe that the Prime Minister did not have a meeting with the CMO? He didn't have a meeting with the St. Lucia Medical and Dental Association? He didn't speak to his personal doctor if he couldn't find one? Nobody? He didn't ask any health professional. Okay. He didn't have a conversation with Dr. Harak Singh. She's right there in his office. She's right there in his office. So he didn't call her up and say, listen, Dr. Harak Singh, I am going to this meeting. What should I say? What should I talk about? Nothing. She is the minister in his office. Somebody saying first time he forgot to say in the forum that he won with a large margin. Actually, he did say that. You didn't hear him, but he did say that. He did say he just won. He couldn't get away from it. He had to politic, not even realizing that the doctors and nurses at that forum cannot vote for him. You're going to a forum on racial and ethnic health disparities. You have a doctor, a trained doctor in your office. Where was Chandra Lee Harak Singh? Why wasn't she consulted before the Prime Minister went and made this? Lord, I don't even want to say what he made of himself. Somebody's asking that's if she knows for herself, Angie. Well, she should know. She should know because she is a medical professional and she spent years working in the community, and that community is very diverse because they have different racial and ethnic groups over there. Good afternoon to you, caller. You are on the air.
Hello. Good afternoon to you, Miss Angie. How are you doing?
That doesn't answer your question. I don't know what will.
I wanted to call you earlier to force you to take a deep breath, but it was a bit of an inconvenience. But did I hear also this Prime Minister say refer to WASCO as my company?
That's what he said. At this point, it is his company because most of the upper echelons of WASCO are political employees, political appointees. And a great many of them have been appointed by the Labour Party. So yes, WASCO is an SLP company.
Exactly. And he's absolutely right. I mean, but like I said before, he's letting the cat out of the bag without recognizing. But we all know that this is his company already. Now he's just unwillingly admitting it or letting the cat out of the bag. Honestly, the only difference I see between this Prime Minister and a conman is that the conman is known for going to prison and he may have had killed people. But other than that, I don't see much difference between the two. And another thing, I think he's playing a stall tactic as well because he knows that the US president is not there for much longer. So in the next 2 years, Trump is not going to be there. So there's a chance that a lot of these things will be repealed. So I believe he's banking on that.
Hold on.
Mm-hmm.
Just because a US president leaves office, that doesn't mean that the laws and policies that he puts in place has to be repealed, you know. Because I will have you know. Hold on. I will have you know that there are laws on the books of the United States since England colonized it that are still there. And it's the same for St. Lucia, and it is the same for every country that is around the world. Listen, the Prime Minister came, simple example. Do you recall when the Prime Minister said that he will be giving persons who've been living on land for 30 years, he's going to give them the land for free? Okay, but are you aware? Are you aware?
Just to interject, I was about 14 years old or 13 years old when I learned that, and that was in primary school.
Okay.
So you can imagine.
So let me tell you something about that law. Are you aware that this is a law that was on the books of St. Lucia when St. Lucia was ruled by the French? That's when that law was introduced. That is part of the civil code of St. Lucia. This man did nothing. All he did was went back to the law books and read a law that was already on the books that people had forgotten about. And everybody clapped.
It's like we go to fish You the one who actually got a good catch. I picked it up and to go pose to take a photo with it.
And everybody thinks it's you, the fisherman.
Yep. That's all there is to it. And even one of the how do you call it? The ideas of the UWP leading up to the election, when the UWP started announcing their ideas, revealing their ideas or whatever, he jumped the line and he went ahead and did it. And he took the price for it.
But
it was his idea.
But this thing that he keeps saying, we want St. Lucia to be the best place to live and work. Alan Shasney is the one who kept saying that. That was the theme for the UWP campaign that past election.
I clenched when he said that, I mean, honestly, I clenched my teeth for it.
That was the theme for the UWP's campaign for the 2025 election.
Oh, yes.
Let St. Lucia be the best place to live and work. Except the SLPs.
The worst thing is they believe the nonsense so much. Even, I think, I want to say that even if the memory serves them right, they would go back to the original person who said it, and then still hear their own voices saying it, rather than the person who originally said it.
Mm-hmm.
I know, you know what? Another thing I mean, it's a little bit off, but I want to ask you, do you know why the former Prime Minister St. Vincent said what he said about Alan Shasney?
No, I don't.
He said Alan Shasney was the worst Prime Minister in the century, right?
That's what he said.
He said that simply because of what Shasney was saying about CARICOM. Because Shasney pretty much bashed all of them, saying that we are all members of CARICOM, and CARICOM is like a paper tiger, in other words. So what are we doing with CARICOM? We should get rid of it.
What he said was the integration that CARICOM was supposed to achieve among the small islands of the OECS, they have surpassed CARICOM by far. CARICOM, they have to understand, or they have to accept that CARICOM is not serving its purpose, and if the gentleman is saying that,
yes.
But CARICOM is not so. Listen, look at what is happening. Okay, let's talk about this Cuban doctor issue. The Cuban Medical Mission serves CARICOM. Every CARICOM country. Cuba may not be a part of CARICOM, but the Cuban Medical Mission serves every island in CARICOM, and Donald Trump comes and says, get rid of it. Not that he is sending us American doctors and nurses, he's actually poaching our doctors and nurses for his country. And he is saying to us, I have taken away all of your trained medical professionals, but you cannot go to Cuba, which is the closest source.
The neighboring country.
And CARICOM said, where that you doing me? And they went ahead with it. None of them said no. None of them said no. No. We're not. You want us to get rid of Cuba? Fine. Send our doctors and nurses back home.
Give us an alternative.
None of them said that. Nobody said anything. Everybody said, where that you telling us? Where?
And they just turn around and say, Chairman.
Yeah. And they went ahead with it. So CARICOM is supposed to be the body. We all come together and we say, Gassa, you see that nonsense you're telling us there? Stay in your section. But they're not standing up to anyone.
The only people that stand up to well, if we stand up and we try to take a stand, they stand up against us. That's what it is.
Look at what is happening in Haiti. Haiti is right there. We have the Regional Security Service. You ever heard the Regional Security Service is deploying people to go into Haiti and try to help? No. CARICOM is not serving its purpose. And the man is not wrong.
Body, or does it only exist on paper?
It actually exists. It is made up of security personnel, law enforcement personnel throughout the region. And in fact, they were the ones who were instrumental in coming in and curbing a lot of the violent crime that we had in St. Lucia a couple of years ago. If you would recall, when Vieux Fort was deemed an escalated crime area.
Crime zone.
Right. a contingent came in and set the place to rights.
Yeah, but isn't that being selective in the places you choose to represent?
Well, I guess it's whoever asks for help, but CARICOM is just sitting there, going along with everything, not saying anything, but then telling us that they are the ones in charge. They are the regional body. To do what?
Yeah, in charge of what? But what I was saying about this guy, he's going to wait for the US president to go away because...
And then he's hoping that the new president...
Sometimes they think they're so smart.
Mm-hmm.
But one thing I want to say that a detective said, he said when somebody commits a crime, you are that one person, but no matter how many times you plan it, you could never determine the outcome because you're just one person. Mm-hmm. But he's just the prime minister. And there are so many other ministers, presidents, or whatever, that are pretty much even stronger than him. He cannot predict the outcome, but I think he's confident in himself in saying that he will be able to solve it afterwards.
Well,
so that is. I mean, this guy cannot put anything past this guy. So, pardon me for saying I think that he is doing this.
Well, maybe that's what he's hoping for. Maybe he's stalling in truth, because when you go to a World Congress on racial and ethnic health disparities and you're talking about rainwater harvesting, what are you doing there?
I think he's showing exactly
the CMO couldn't make a speech. Dr. Haraxing couldn't say anything. Musa couldn't say a word. The chief nursing officer couldn't speak. Why? What?
Yeah, once you were playing that, I mean, I was listening, but you read one of the comments which revealed exactly what I was thinking. Why couldn't he have one of his ministers present a speech? Even if you figure two figures and he's going to say you're sick, and he presents a speech on your behalf, it still works better.
What would have worked better is if this man had not won the election. That's what would have worked better. If this man
I also have a problem with that. I mean, I understand why you keep saying you keep saying wrong, and I understand, but every time you say that, it's like a sting, you know?
No, listen. I believe that this election was not won in the way we thought, and I think it warrants an investigation. But that's for another show.
Maybe two.
Maybe more than that. That's for another show. But thank you very much for your contribution, caller.
You're welcome, man. Well, I keep listening. Thanks for being my call.
You're welcome. Guys, seriously, somebody's saying, that's if she knows for herself, Angie. Another saying, Philip is a bukabawi. Somebody says, Angie, where can we get this speech from the PM on this health forum? This speech I took from a posting on the it's the Office of the Prime Minister of St. Lucia YouTube channel. That's the latest video posted. It is the forum, the second World Congress on Racial and Ethnic Health Disparity. Somebody says, and good rebuttal to the caller. Another person say, Mervin, what is a bukabawe in English? Wow. Somebody says, caller, all what we are pointing out about PJP is true. Angie, your mystery PM. Why is he my mystery PM? Why? He's yours too. Another says, caller, Trump will be gone, yes, but his party will be back with the same laws. He signed most of them. Somebody says, Angie, Trump have something over those leaders in the Caribbean. That's why you have to do what I say or else. And that might very well be the case. Because don't tell me that we are supposed to be sovereign sovereign nations, independent nations in CARICOM. And we cannot come together and speak on our own behalf. We have to accept whatever is thrown at us from the bigger countries. Where is the regional integration? And what is more frustrating? What is even more frustrating is the fact that for 5 years, well, 4.5 years, the alarm was being sounded by the opposition. Do something about CIP. Clean up the CIP, because this is going to put us in a position where we lose our visas and our traveling privileges. Oh, they're only trying to, they're jealous. They're jealous. Jealous of what? Jealous of what? Find a way to make the region self-sufficient. Let us reduce our food import bill so that we don't depend so much on outside imports. Instead, they go and they destroy our banana industry. The next thing that was said, deal with this crime issue. Take a harder stance on crime. You gloating, enemy of the state. We have a caller. We have a call coming in on the WhatsApp platform. Good afternoon to you, caller. You are on the air.
Yes, good afternoon.
Hi, caller. How are you?
Yes, I'm doing good. I wanted to make it short and brief.
Yes.
Why I personally agree with Trump when it comes to visa restrictions, doctors, anything he's doing right now. Because one day I can tell you, an immigration is making America great for Americans.
That's right.
America had a civil war.
That's right. That's right.
They build back their country to make it the greatest country on earth. That is why they can bully other countries, because they invested in their people, they invested in industry, they invested in water system, and they invested in education. You understand? Now, it has been from 1997 to 2026, 30 years.
Yeah.
Only two brief stops was Sir John and Aaron Chasney.
Right.
That's what UWP millennium by there. So, in other words, SLP failed to invest in the pipe system in 2001. They failed to invest in industry so that we can be a resilient country.
Amen.
They failed to invest in education and technology so that we can have our own technology and our own people. You see?
Yep.
Solution is supposed to be like a beehive. The business entrepreneurs, they go out there and they come back to give value. That's why I tell them, let us do away with citizenship by investment and let us go in a phase of leverage by investment, because we're a strategic island. That's why we have 10 million gallons of oil storage there down in Calisac, because of our strategicness. The country can come to become an energy hub. When it comes to energy, to supply the whole OECS with energy.
Exactly.
Trinidad and Guyana.
Exactly.
We supply them to people.
Caller,
You understand?
Caller, I need to invite you to come to our studios. I need you, because I think I need you to come and have a seat with me and let's discuss these issues. Because I need you to say it louder for those in the back. Those in the back that are preoccupied about color. And all they can see is the little corner of their world without realizing the mess that we are in. I need you to say it louder for these people to understand.
So now, before 1997, that was Sir John.
Yes.
The same 40-year span. The same 40-year span. Connect the causeway, burst out Rodney Bay, John Compton Dam, still the New Millennium Highway.
That's right.
All those. So what I'm trying to say in closing, Philip J. Pierre, Kenny Anthony, and the St. Lucia Labour Party has invested in destructive politics.
Exactly.
And with destructive politics, we're getting things like a lot of scandals, Grindberg,
Rochamel. Yeah.
Our seabed.
Yes.
Our seabed.
Yes. Huh? Then we have the CIP. We have GPA.
Grenada went in a deal with Trinidad because they get some things off the coast of Trinidad. Grenada went in that same thing with Grindberg. They told Kenny Anthony not to do that. He said a friend of his went in ocean and he found oil on his feet and they went in a deal with Jack Grindberg. 30 years, maybe about 25 years now, we cannot have our seabed in our hands so we can do drilling to see if we have oil or gas. That is what SLP is for you. And then one more thing I want to say again. With the GPS deal, right? I'm noticing the SLP just selling out our strategic assets, our ports, transportation.
Kola, are you there?
So you can open a calling center here for the solutions to take the calls. Simple thing the Uber doing, and it's the same taxis they will have to use. A simple call, okay, no. The money staying in St. Lucia, and then now you're saying people not paying taxes. Then now you want to go and borrow $50 million to open the hospital while you're outsourcing strategic assets. Those guys playing it for our future on a whole nother level.
Yep.
Our bless one, man. We'll continue that.
Thank you so much, caller. Thank you. I really appreciate when you call this program. Guys, this caller is so on point. This caller just tells it like it is. And I love that. Let me take you guys to the Facebook platform before I start to unpack some of the things that he says. Somebody's saying here, Angie, CARICOM leaders cannot say anything because Trump has things on most of them that would implicate them. For example, CIP, Maduro addressed with drugs and so much more. So they have to yield to Trump. Another says they cannot do what they want with Alan Shastney but try to disrespect him. Somebody is saying true caller. Another is saying so true caller. Another says, Angie, I would be happy to have this caller in with you. Somebody says, say it loud for those that were opening and closing the fridge door. Another says, Angie, you need to listen and play the St. Lucian female educator's speech on independence as played on Newspin and is on Garfield. Not familiar with this speech, but you're the second person to bring it to my attention. Of course, I will look into it to see what is going on. Says, did the leaders and managers of the CBI or CIP countries receive a promise from the United States authorities which they welcomed? We don't know. We don't know because they refuse to tell us. Now, let's go back to the statement made by the last caller. When he says that the 30-year period under the UWP was strategic. It was about investing in our country and in our greatest human resource, on our greatest resource, the people. He is not wrong. Look at the unprecedented level of development that St. Lucia experienced in that era. And he makes mention of it. He says, joining the Pigeon Island Causeway, creating the Rodney Bay Marina, the Millennium Highway, our education system. Did you know that back then our education system was the best in the world before 1997? The best in the world. I say that because I distinctly remember In 1996, I was in Form 3, and there was a student who joined our class. She was an older girl. She had moved to St. Lucia with her mom from England because her mom, I think, was a returning diplomat. And this girl, who was looking to go to Sir Arthur Lewis Community College, that was the level that she was at in England. When she got here, they gave her a proficiency exam. And based on her results, she was put in Form 3 at Current Secondary School. I remember asking her about it, and that was the question, the thing that I received, the answer that I received. So when I say St. Lucia's education system at that time, before 1997, was the best in the world, I don't think there are many who can refute that. And this is evidenced by the fact that those St. Lucians who went through that system before 1997, they are very prominent, and they've done big things. So, education, healthcare. You guys remember that I was telling you about the plan for our health system? The fact that our health centers, our primary healthcare facilities, were strategically placed within a 5-mile radius of each other, each one next to a school. That was not a coincidence. That was planning. That was precision. We had one hospital at the time, 2 hospitals at the time. We had the Victoria Hospital, and we had the St. Jude Hospital, and then we had, I think, Dennery Hospital maybe. And the Soufre Hospital. But we had primary healthcare centers within a 5-mile radius of each other in every single community. Planning, precision, foresight, vision. That was our developmental policy. These things didn't happen by accident. After 1997, what happened? That was when we learned the phrase cost overrun. When everything went downhill. That was when universal secondary education, no, first it was universal primary education. You guys remember that? And at that time, we didn't have so many schools, you know. We didn't have so many schools. Do you remember we had a shift system? And when Dr. Anthony came in and said we need to build more schools and, you know, took out the shift system, people were happy. We thought we were getting a better deal. That wasn't true. With the advent of universal secondary education, our level of education dropped so badly that we now have students leaving school that are illiterate. You heard me. Illiterate. The meaning of that word is unable to read and write, not being able to read and write. And we have children today leaving our school system, our secondary school system, who cannot read and write. I have spoken to individuals younger than myself, and when I ask them, didn't you have a thesaurus when you went to school? They ask me, what is that? I'm pretty sure they believe I am speaking about some variety of dinosaur. Dr. Fletcher spoke here about the student's companion, and I bet you there are students who don't even know that this book exists. Our students don't read. Thank Kenny Anthony for that and the Labour Party. Thank them for destroying the banana industry. That industry that kept us independent. And I know some of the hacks will come out and say, well, it was preferential treatment that destroyed our industry. Not true. Not true. Preferential treatment came. But like every problem, the human race has one solution: adaptation. And if the banana industry, if the government of the day had adapted, our banana industry would still be going strong today. We simply had to make our fruit and our packaging and our business more standardized, and bring it up to par with international standards and regulations. That was it. And the EU sent us money to do that. The British government, sent us money to do that. But what did they do? Kenny Anthony took the money and said he was going to invest it in a low-income housing project for farmers. What a laugh. Up to now, I have no idea where that housing scheme or housing project was. I don't know one farmer who ever bought a house from that project. We didn't do what we were supposed to do. They didn't invest, like this caller said, they didn't invest in developmental politics. They invested in destructive politics. And we are paying the price because these trees take time to grow. And we are now harvesting the fruit. We are harvesting the fruit. Kenny Anthony came in. We had a fledgling manufacturing industry. Just building itself up. This is a supplementary way. What did he do? He closed down the Coconut Growers Association. As opposed to streamlining their operations, strengthening their processes, and expanding, he shut it down. You guys remember the Beausejour farm? Where we were making our own UHT milk? You remember that, right? It used to come in a box. There was the full cream milk, with the red in the red and white box, and the skimmed milk I'm remembering. Yeah, the skimmed milk in a blue and white box. You guys remember that? The UHT milk? Closed down, shut down. Beausejour farm, dairy farm, shut down. All of these things that were put in place by the UWP era of development. And what did Kenny Anthony do? Shut them down one by one and made us dependent on short-term employment programs, aka STEP. So for those of you who said that it was Kenny Anthony, because somebody said that to me, somebody from Viewport. It was Kenny Anthony who took our young people from playing in the dirt to working in hotels. Yes, he sent our young people to work in hotels. He did. And then he took the rest of us, or the rest of them, because Angie not in that, and put them to scratch the gutters like chickens, searching for worms. And with the advent of this universal health universal health coverage, I would love to say that it was Crapo that was about to smoke our pipe. But based on the reports that are coming in, it is now the Fedilas that is smoking our pipe all over St. Lucia. So this individual, this young man, because he sounds like a young man, this is the second time he's called, and he is so on point for a young man. And he is saying, compare the 30 years from 1997 to 2026 under Labour. And now, Kenny Anthony is gone, and we have a Prime Minister who we can safely describe as confounded, kerfuffled, and quite confused, because he has absolutely no idea what he's doing, and he is grasping in the dark, looking for two stones to knock together to light a flubble. Compare these two 30-year periods. And if you are not saddened by what St. Lucia has lost, then you are not a true St. Lucian. Let's turn our attention back to the Facebook platform. Somebody's saying here, education is not new to us. Now Labour is making it seem as if it's a new invention. Another says, Angie, even when our kids move to America, they are more advanced than an American student. Another says, so true, Angie, our education system was top notch prior to 1997. Another one is saying, very true. Somebody else is saying, Angie, you didn't hear Ozzy on Newspin talking crap, Maggi, and more Beatties? Sorry, I missed Newspin today. Busy getting ready for this show. Somebody says, good evening, Miss Angie, just came from underground. Another says, Kenny and Labour pocket the money just as Philip Pierre and Labour is doing now. Another says, I was absolutely horrified when I heard some of our people currently leaving school cannot read. Unbelievable. It's not unbelievable. It's not unbelievable. It is true. It is absolutely true. Somebody says that the clip played by Tim would be suitable right now on St. Lucia's Independence. It could be named Independence What? It's hot and serious. Somebody says, good. Oh, somebody saying dishonesty and corruption. Another says, UWP better stay far away from Ozzy. He was one of those who tried to destroy UWP because he couldn't get his way with Shas. Another says, true, Angie. Another says, Andrew, if my memory serves me right, I think that the house was a banana shed. A few farmers got lucky to have one. I'm open to correction because I don't remember clearly. Another says, yes, I remember the milk from Beausejour Viewport. Another says, yes, he did, but at what cost? Somebody says, he thinks that people cannot remember, but I can. Another says, I think Spider was right when he said that the UWP is being purged. Another says, and it's funny because they blame the UWP for everything, and for everything they are doing. No accountability. Somebody says, yes, Angie, when I was at the hotel, a young man told me he liked Kenny because he took them out of the mud and have him making fast money in the tourism sector. I was like, wow, so you on point, Angie. Another says, Ozzy said a lot of things to think about. Guys, you know that up next is Full Disclosure with Mr. Foster Chico. And there are a number of things over the week, well, the past week, that happened that we're going to have to bring up. But just letting you know, when I sign off in a few minutes, please don't step away from your phone or your radio, because Mr. Chico is here. And guys, if I tell you he is dressed to the nines, and I'm wondering where is he going next. Anyway, so back to the Facebook platform. SLP is a disaster and lowers the bar to law and order. Standard of living is I'm not going to say that phrase, but I just want the listener to know that you are definitely on point. Guys, it is not a coincidence. Things happen when people plan. Success is 1% presence and 99.999% planning. That is what success is. And when you have a government who has absolutely no idea what they're doing, call on the line. Good afternoon to you, caller. You are on the air.
Hi, good day. Angie, how are you?
I am good. How are you?
I'm good. I'm good. I'm just listening to you. Angie, you were having a conversation there talking about, I think you said about the health system.
Mm-hmm.
And I think other persons must have made similar comments about other people, but I haven't really heard them, but I pick up the gist of what you say.
Mm-hmm.
And Angie, this morning I was talking to an individual who was sitting at OKEU Hospital from 2 a.m.
2 a.m. you said?
From 2 a.m.
Wow.
Was triaged and was left there until after 8 o'clock.
My God.
There were other people waiting. Whilst I was talking to the individual, I can hear people quarreling in the background. And I was saying to this individual, don't become agitated and angry, because all you're going to do is make yourself worse.
Mm-hmm.
So just keep your calm. And the person was laughing and saying, it's so funny because people have been here before me,
Mm-hmm.
I came at 2 a.m. and I've been here until now and I've not been seen to. And whilst I was speaking to the person, I heard, I'm being called right now. I said, maybe it's because you're having the conversation. And I said I was going to call a radio station, whatever program, and speak on this and mention this today. Remember just last week we were talking about this. You are going to do boasting of building a fifth finger.
Mm-hmm.
And the operations you have at that current thing you call a hospital is not working. Mm-hmm. There are no operations going on.
Mm-hmm.
There's no way. You have no equipment. That person was triaged, was not even given the drip or whatever, whilst from 2 to 8, after 8 o'clock in the morning. And there were people before that individual who were waiting and they started to quarrel. That's what we are faced with. after paying a 2.5% compounded tax for health in this country.
Yep.
Hello?
Health and security. Don't forget there's security attached to it.
Yeah, I didn't even say the security. I say health because I was talking about the hospital.
Mm-hmm.
Hello? Hello?
But did you
This
hear?
is what
But
you
hold on. Did you sign in early to the show? Because you would have heard the Prime Minister's remarks at the second World Congress on Racial and Ethnic Health Disparities.
I did not hear it. So you tell me.
Would you believe this man was on there at that forum talking about rainwater harvesting, talking about CIP, talking about how he needs money and he cannot borrow money because of certain restrictions placed on small island developing states by the IMF.
Wait. The US put an embargo on St. Lucia, so St. Lucia cannot borrow money? Is that what he's trying to make us believe?
No.
He's telling us the tales?
No. That's not what he's saying. He's saying that the US does not want him to have a CIP, but he cannot borrow money. In order to borrow money from the World Bank and the IMF, they're asking for so many things.
The US did not allow him, does not want him to borrow money. He doesn't want him to have CIP, but he cannot borrow money. Why can't he borrow money?
I don't know.
Where is all the where's the supposed 6.5 or over $6 billion of passport sales that they made? UWP sold 800, approximately 800 passports. I say approximate, that's an approximate figure. Not 9, not 1,000. Approximately 800 passports.
Well,
how many passports have Philip J. Pierre's administration sold? CIP passports, and where is the money? Did some people get bam lifts? Did some people buy property in? Did some people buy property in Dubai? Did some people open accounts in Dubai of $30 million plus dollars? $30 million plus dollars in one account in Dubai for one individual? How many people have? How many MPs have overseas accounts and money hiding in Swiss accounts and Morocco and in Dubai? And how many MPs here after 4 years, after 2 or 3 or 4 years, owns property out of St. Lucia, property in St. Lucia, all over the place?
Oh, we're not.
How many?
He's not talking about that. That's not what he's talking about. He's not talking about that at all. Oh, and this man, I don't know. He's talking about accidents, people driving recklessly on the road, people using tanks to store Wasco water while the water from the guttering going into the ground. At a forum on racial and ethnic health disparities,
Aren't we paying for Wasco's water whether we receive it or not?
Yep.
Aren't we paying for the desilting of a dam that has not been desilted since this administration came in?
Yep.
Aren't we paying? Isn't it our money's paying for it?
Mm-hmm.
How dare him? How dare him say people are collecting Wasco's water in tanks? What does he want us to collect in tanks? The rainwater, is he coming to treat it for us at our homes?
I don't know.
Is he coming to treat rainwater at our homes for us? Is it just so people take rainwater and they just drink it from a drum? I say a drum because that's what St. Lucians know. The drum outside under the gouttiere. And I don't want to be insulting people or sounding like I'm insulting people.
Mm-hmm.
But Papi, that is what 30 years behind is what your wanted Philip J. Pierre. Let me to list some things that I was listing to someone only yesterday. Yesterday, I had the longest conversation with someone last night. Okay? I was saying to the person, in all of the years, let's put John Compton, take him out of that equation, because he was our first premier, he was this, he was that, and then he became prime minister. So obviously he had work to do that no one else had to have done, including putting running electricity through the island.
Right.
I mean,
water,
he did
roads, and all of that.
The initial development of this country. Okay, so we can't compare anybody to John Compton. He's in a bracket on his own.
Right.
But thereafter, we had Kenny Anthony for how many years? For how many years was Kenny Anthony prime minister?
He was
20
prime
years?
minister for 15. Is it 15 years? Because he did 2 terms back to back, 1997 to 2002, I think. Hold on. 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Okay, yes. 1997 to 2002. And then he came back in 2002 to 2006. And then he lost a sojourn from 2006 until 2000. Sir John died in 2007. The term after that, he came back. So 15 years in total.
Because 20 years, it sounds to me, honey.
No. He did 2 terms back to back. Then he lost to Sir John. He came back. He did 5 years. Right. So it's 1997 to 2001. Then he went from 2001 till 2006 or 2005 when he lost to Sir John, and then he came back after he defeated Stephenson King after Sir John died, and then Alan Chasney became the prime minister in 2016.
Okay,
right.
So 15 years under Kenny Anthony. Was it 5 years under King?
Not exactly, because King came
less than 5 years.
Less than 5 years, right? Yeah.
Less than 5 years under King, and King was not elected.
No.
And then we had 5 years under Chasney.
Right.
And now we've had 4.5 years under. Listen to that, 4.5 years under. 4.5 going on to 5 years under Philip J. Pace. So SLP has really governed the country for about 20 years now.
Yeah.
Okay. In those 20 years, have we seen anything that SLP has done in any 5-year period in St. Lucia in terms of, like you were saying, creating long-term jobs, in terms of improving the health system, in terms of giving people a break in tax?
Nope.
In terms of security, as in K9 units, scanners, etc., in terms of a new airport facilities that are needed because our island is solely dependent on tourism. In terms of farming, we are a farming country. We should be self-sufficient in food and feeding ourselves right now, and we are not. In terms of being innovative and developing our ports rather than selling them for $1 a year and losing $5.50 or let's say $8.50 per head per passenger, and St. Lucia receiving $1. St. Lucia is making a lot less money at the ports right now when it comes to our mainstay tourism. In terms of organizing places such as the market, the castries, the city, in terms of cleaning up the city and organizing stuff, in terms of any proper changes in terms of education and having a laptop or whatever you call it, an ebook that has books on it, and our children are still carrying 50 tons of books on their backs every day, and they're not even reading them, they're hardly using them at school, and we're paying $1,200 for books every year, maybe about $2,000 in books, in material to send our children back to school on an annual basis. $2,000 that could have been cut to $500 because they would just be needing uniforms and shoes. Uniform, shoes, and stationery.
You're very correct.
We could have cut that back.
You're very correct.
Have we seen anything? Have we seen better healthcare? Have we seen an international hospital being opened in St. Lucia? Have we seen any changes? Didn't we see our lights go from white lights on the road where you could see the roadways clearly and the sides of the road at night to some dim, sorry, I was going to say a bad word, some dim lights that you can barely see the corners, the side of the road when you're driving at night. They dim the lights on the SLP to dim the spirits of St. Lucians, and they have not even noticed that this is going on. Have we seen an increase in taxes, a rather big increase in our food bill, in our gas bill, in all of these things? Now let me list some things for St. Lucians. I just told them, have we seen an increase in the death rate via murder, gunshot, stabbings, this, that, underneath the SLP administration? Haven't we seen all
accidents?
This?
Don't forget the accidents, because nobody's taking note. But we have so many people dying.
And now, listen, the road accidents, you think the road accidents are happening just so? A Castries Grosley highway that should be a smooth carriageway, that people that is marked clearly. That is the main high road from Castries to Grosley. That's one of St. Lucia's main veins. It is like it's like a roller coaster, bloop, 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 because all they have done is patchwork, 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 patchwork. Have they increased the road network and bettered the road network so people to spend less time in traffic and maximize their time working, etc.? Have they done anything of that nature? They have failed to do any of it. Have they created any long-term sustainable jobs for kids who are leaving school every year? Have they done it? 1,000 children or more that are leaving school, 6,000 or how many leaving school every year? Have they created sustainable jobs for them? Have they made it any easier for these children to get into college, the colleges, and to have tertiary education, etc. in this country? Have they done it? Do they really have any healthcare, free healthcare for 80-year-olds, etc. in this country?
Caller, before you move on, you just spoke about education and college. Do you remember when they promised us that they would turn Sir Arthur Lewis Community College into a full-fledged university? Have we seen that?
No. Under Kenny Anthony.
Just checking.
I know what I'm talking about. We had a nursing college, a teachers training college. We had all of that. What is going on with all of this? The technical college, you barely hearing anything. What have they done to improve anything in St. Lucia? The SLP has come in and taken St. Lucia 30 years behind in less than 5 years. St. Lucians, let me just spell out some stuff to you. When Kenny Anthony came in, the last time he was there, what did Kenny do? 15% VAT.
That's right.
Increase in gas prices. Increase in water bills because he put a levy on us to desilt the dam. Increase in electricity or goods and services, water, etc. Because he raised the price of fuel, the price of all of these things went up. the increase in food. You know how many small businesses folded under Kenny Anthony because they could not afford to pay the 15% VAT. They could not survive under these conditions. In St. Lucia, St. Lucia was void of small businesses under Kenny Anthony.
Mm-hmm.
Did Kenny Anthony for 15 years or 20 years or however long he stayed in politics, even if he was in opposition, his 35 years in politics, did we see one long-term job created in Viewfort?
In fact, do you remember his famous statement that no hotel will ever be built on any beach in Viewfort? And if they think that they are going to do this, there will be no peace. We will fight you in the streets. We will fight you in our homes. We will fight. Do you remember that?
Following that, heavy artillery was heard being fired all over Viewfort.
Mm-hmm.
That's when it started. The heavy artillery and the guns and the drugs and the this and the that came flowing in. There was creation of ghettos. How many houses Kenny Anthony built? The SLP administration has built in St. Lucia in terms of housing stock for the nation. How many? I am asking those questions. How many sporting facilities have they built in St. Lucia? How many? To encourage the kids to do sports. How many?
I think they built the Olympic Stadium that now houses the St. Jude Hospital. And didn't they build I think they built Darren Sammy Cricket Grounds, but I'm not sure.
Okay, they built a cricket grounds. Did they maintain it? Did they maintain it? Did they improve it? Did they do anything? We'll come to the improvements of Darren Sammy's $80 million cricket grounds in a moment.
Mm.
Okay?
You're bringing out the heavy artillery, caller.
Let's now go. Did they do 2 bridges? One of them costing $11 million? Or 2 of them costing about $11 million for a bridge? Bonter Bridge and Bardawash Bridge. A bridge, $11 million for a bridge. We have to believe that crap. A bridge. When we were having 4 lanes being put in Rodney Bay with 2 big roundabouts for flowing traffic, sidewalks, walk over, etc., for $15 million, which they came in and stopped the road projects. Hold on.
Don't forget, you're forgetting that Wasco's water infrastructure in that area was also being updated while that road was being built.
Upgraded, yes, those big blue pipes, were placed up there to make sure that water was going through, and all of that was stopped. This was to improve and better the lives of St. Lucians. But give me a few moments, please, Angie, because last night I had to tell someone Shasney ain't going nowhere as the leader of the UWP. Let me repeat that. Alan Shasney. Also, you listening? Alan Shasney is going nowhere as the leader of the United Workers' Party. Let me now confirm why I have made that statement. So John brought Shasney in as the Minister of Tourism, as a senator, and made him the Minister of Tourism. What did we see happen in tourism? What did we see happen in tourism? Wasn't Philip Pierre made Minister of Tourism and nothing shifted in tourism prior to that?
Well, he did say that he did not understand the importance of tourism to the St. Lucian economy.
Right. Shasney was brought in as a senator and made the Minister of Tourism. What did we see happen in tourism? A spike in the tourism figures, a spike in
let's be honest, it exploded. our tourism market exploded and spread all over the place. And you had flights coming in, you had cruise ships. I heard Ernest Hilaire say, do you remember, caller, that Ernest Hilaire said that the cruise ships are refusing to come during the hurricane season? But I recall that between 2016, 2006 and 2026, 2014, what was it? Was the years? I get confused. In 2006, when Sir John came in, we had tourist boats at all times.
Okay, in 2016 to 2021, before COVID hit, did you see cruise ships in the port?
We had cruise ships all the time. From 2021.
Did you see 4 cruise ships, 5 cruise ships in the port on any given day?
Didn't you see cruise ships docking outside and people being brought in by small boats? Because I saw that too.
That's correct, because the docks were not big enough to take all the cruise ships that were coming in at the time. Okay. Tourism boom. The highest numbers in tourism ever was in 2019. They can say how many rooms that were occupied now and try to say that try to make that the figure of the number of tourists on the island. That is a blatant lie. And let me just say that. Let me clarify that today. There are tourists coming into St. Lucia. We have 5 flights on a weekend from 20-something flights. How could we ever have more tourists coming in right now than we had between 2016 to 2021? How is that possible?
Magic?
Hold on. The tourists who are coming in now are splitting their vacation stay in 2 different places in St. Lucia.
Yep.
So they come in, they stay in Soufrière,
and then they come up
to Soufrière, and they stay there for a week, and then they come up to the north in an Airbnb, another property, for another week. So it appears that there are 2 sets of rooms booked. 2 different hotels have been booked, or 2 different Airbnbs have been booked in that space of time. Now, these are not 2 different sets of people. It is the same person spending time in 2 different places. So, Hilaire, your lies are going to catch up with you.
And here's another thing. If a couple comes in at Sandals, they can go from one Sandals to the other, and all of that will look like stayover arrivals, but it's just the same person.
So the Sandals resorts, the Sri resorts share. These people can book to go to Sandals Halcyon, spend a couple of days at Sandals Halcyon, book to go to Sandals Grand, spend a couple of days there, and go to Sandals Le Toc as well. And go to stay at Sandals Le Toc as well. And this also happened for Le Sport when Le Sport and Rendezvous were side by side.
Yep.
Okay?
It happens between Shafney and Jade Mountain as well.
It happened for Royalton when Royalton and those hotels in Papillon, what was the Papillon?
Right.
What was the Royal St. Lucian? The clients would share their stay between the main Royalton in Capestic and those 2 other hotels on the waterfront in Raidwy. So these rooms are occupied by the same people that have come in. So when they are deceiving solutions and making solutions think that every room that is occupied by a different tourist, that is a blatant lie. Let us clarify today for St. Lucians exactly what is happening in St. Lucia. Let us stop pretending that we do not know what's going on, because we do know, and we must say it now. I'm just thinking in 2016, before that he was the tourism minister who brought in the jazz. Yes, he started the jazz festival. Whether they like it or not,
Yep.
Alan Shaftney started the Jazz Festival. It commenced under his tenure. It did not commence under Philip J. Pierre. It did not commence under Hillel. It did not commence under any other tourism minister but Alan Shaftney. Put that in your pipe and smoke it.
But hold on. Before you move on from tourism, did you hear Philip J. Pierce saying that St. Lucia has been the leading honeymoon destination for 19 years and he needs to thank Ernest Hillel for that?
Ernest Hillel, that's correct. I heard it. I said it on your program, I think last week or sometime, because I was so irritated. How long has Ernest Hillel been the tourism minister?
5 years.
Who brought St. Lucia to honeymoon destination? Under which MP did St. Lucia become? Under which minister? Let's do trivia.
Alan Shaftney.
Under which minister?
The very first time.
Under which minister?
The very first time we won this title
was under who?
Alan Michael
Shaftney. Let's say it again. The very first time, the very second time, the very third time, the very fourth time.
The fifth time.
Consecutive years, fifth time, sixth times have we won the best honeymoon destination was under Alan Michael Shaftney.
That's right.
Now, if somebody has to take credit for it, who should take the credit? Let's play trivia.
Alan Shaftney.
We're going A, B, or C. No, A. Ernest Hillel, B, Philip Pierre, or C, Alan Shaftney.
You know the answer is C.
That's correct. In fact, let me go A, Alan Shaftney, B, Ernest Hillel, and C, Philip Pierre. Let's put it in order. You understand?
I understand.
Let's put it in order. So the answer would be A, Alan Shaftney. The other two, duh. Let's be playing trivia this afternoon. And the people on listening to the live, please pull your phones and write the name of the person, the individual who did certain things as I ask you. Alan Shaftney came in 2016. Who lowered the VAT from 15% to 12.5%, giving each and every one of us in St. Lucia a 2.5% saving on every VATed item that we bought in this country. Every single item that had VAT on it, we saved 2.5% on it. Who did that?
Alan Shaftney.
Thank you very much. Next question. Kenny Anthony had brought up the driver's license fees. Kenny Anthony had increased, let me reuse the right words here, increased the driver's license fees. Who took off 50% of that increase to make it affordable for St. Lucians to be able to go with their driver's license without having to flinch and bend over and bend backwards and somersaults and all that? Who did that?
I don't know, but I think it was Alan Shaftney. Am I right?
Well, it was ding, 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 ding. Alan Shaftney. Who started the program with ebooks where the children already had those even if some of them were not, and I'm going to say that, even if some of them were not working properly for certain subjects, because it was a pilot program that had started and the children were already receiving ebooks, some of the books which they could use without any glitches, some of them some of the ebooks had some problems, but the program was launched and was started, and the children were carrying less books to school already. Who started that program in St. Lucia to save parents $1,200 to $1,500, $1,200 to $1,500 in book purchasing every year for one child? Who started the ebook program?
Alan Shaftney. Now, caller, we need to wrap up because we have another program coming in quickly.
Okay, let's do it fast in a few minutes, in just a few minutes.
Yeah.
who created jobs for over 1,000 young people, paying anywhere between 2,005, so long-term sustainable jobs, paying anywhere between $2,500 to $4,000 a month in View Fort.
Well, it definitely wasn't. It definitely wasn't Kenny Anthony. I can tell you that.
Right. So let me say Alan Shassey, and let me tell them that it was those two call centers that Pip had said he was going to close one of them. I tell BPO, and the other one was it's two of them, two call centers. The Vifortians know, the kids from the south know.
Ojo Labs. Ojo Labs.
Ojo Labs. Who started our international airport in St. Lucia? Piling had gone down in the ground. Who destroyed millions of dollars worth of piling? But let's go. Who started the airport redevelopment program for Euronora Airport, etc. in St. Lucia? Alan Shasley.
2 minutes.
Who increased the water capacity at the dam in the south to give people who had bathrooms in their houses, who never had a drop of water come through those bathroom taps. And that was the first time that they ever had water flow through their taps in certain areas in View Fort and Library and these places. Who increased it by the dam by millions of gallons? Alan Shasley.
Mm-hmm.
Who signed a deal for cruise ship porting,
home porting,
cruise porting in View Fort to redo the ports and stuff and home porting? Who did that? Alan Shasley. Who brought in the first real top of the line A-class standard horse racing track in St. Lucia? That's so much so two of our jockeys, Barbados took them after SLP came in 2021 and shut down the horse racing tracks. Who did that? And two of the jockeys are now riding on the international stage as Bajan riders, and they are St. Lucians who rode at that international stables. Alan Shasley. Who transformed Soufre? I live in View Fort for a little while. There's still a lot more. Who transformed Soufre and did a proper sporting facility with proper turf, etc.? Who increased the sulfur baths? Who gave Soufre a facelift that is beyond what anybody had seen? But nothing was done in Soufre. Soufre was a dead-looking touristic destination. Who uplifted? Who did all this work in Soufre to make it what it is today? Alan Shasley. Who increased the road capacity? Made the road bigger, larger in Soufre? Who built a bus terminal? Who had the park where the vendors could have gone, the beach park, etc.? Who did it? Alan Shasley.
Now,
I'm not finished.
No, I have to cut you off, because if I let you go on, I'm not going to. I'm going to cut into the time of the other program. But you can always call.
Let me stop in Soufre, because tomorrow I'll call to finish this.
Yes.
Tomorrow I will call to finish this. What did they tell us the artificial turf on the sports at the sports stadium did? SLP told us what it caused cancer. Where does SLP have every event in Soufre? Where do they go?
Caller, thank you so much for that contribution. Because
where do they send our children to play sports? Soufre on the cancer-causing turf. We're going to stop it here.
Yeah.
But we're going up the island. We're going around the island for me to show St. Lucians what Shasley did in 5 years that no other prime minister, exempt Sir John, no other prime minister had been able to achieve. And we had COVID.
Yeah.
Okay, I leave that there. And you telling me Shasley is not a good leader?
We really have to. Yeah, I know what you mean.
To them out there, put that in your pipe so far and smoke it hard tonight. I have more for you tomorrow. Thank you, Angie.
Thank you. Bye-bye. Well, guys, that was our last caller, and we have to really cut it off here, because we're coming later. Don't touch that dial, because the programs are not going away. I have to hand it over to Foster Chico, who is coming in with full disclosure in the next few minutes. Don't touch that dial. We will be right back with more here on Fire 107.7 FM. But I do have to sign off now and hand it over to Mr. Chico. Guys, have a wonderful day. We will be right back with full disclosure. Bye bye.